Gentlemen, here we are. Another Canucks season is upon us. We're going to run through some rapid fire things here. Thank you for joining us, Patrick Johnston, Ben Kuzma. This video is brought to you by Paragon Roofing BC. You can go to paragonroofingbc.ca. They are a great sponsor for us this year for all our Canucks content, residential services, commercial services, roof types, anything you want under the roof, you can get from Paragon Roofing. So we thank them for their support this year. Very excited about what's going to happen this year. We're going to bring you a suite of different Canucks content all year. We'll be doing weekly videos. We've got Q&As. We're going to be looking ahead into inside the Canucks numbers. We'll have a look at the Canucks schedule every week and what's happening and some other fun stuff. So lots of great Canucks content to bring you this year. I just want an opening statement from you guys on what you're expecting from the team this year. We've been debating playoffs, just get in, defense, salary cap. Like there's the issue. We seem to have been on a Canucks hamster wheel for the last 7-8 years. No matter which coach is in charge, no matter which general manager is in charge. What does this year mean to both you guys?
Well, I think I'll lead off by I'm expecting a rebound in Calgary. I know that the Stars are gone and they're trying to circle the wagons, but sometimes culture and a good feel in the room is as important as anything. It's still a good team on paper. I think from a Canucks perspective, guys, what's going to be really paramount of importance here is, I know it sounds cliche-ish, but how are you playing without the puck? I mean, they need to score more. You know, that power play looks so good on paper, but can it translate into being in the top half of the league? It should be top 10. With that kind of talent, it should be. The PK can only get better. I mean, that's why they got certain guys to prop that up. And we're going to wait and see. My biggest fear is that this team gets to the trade deadline and it's, say, 6 or 8 points shy of that final wildcard spot, and then it kind of goes sideways from there, and they're chasing. I think the reason Rick Tocchet has put such a premium on the play to not have one mistake lead into a second mistake and a third mistake and the puck's in your net, all those backdoor goals. I think his primary focus has been defense, your play without the puck. And if they do that, they're going to win some close games because they can't outscore teams. We've seen that. They got to win 2-1, 3-2 games. It's on him and his coaching staff to make that happen.
Ben mentions the defense. I think actually I'm fascinated. I mean, obviously big deal, but I'm fascinated to see the sort of 4 offensive leaders. Can Elias Pettersson score 100 points again? What happens with JT Miller? It's a big year for him, obviously starting the first year of his 8-year contract at the age of 30. And in Quinn Hughes, who we've seen at least in 2 games through preseason, appears to be on a mission and wants to take his game to a whole new level. Can he be, Cale Makar in his quality of play? Those things obviously will all take them a long way. At the end of the day, it will come down to, can they kill penalties? Ben, you say it can't get any worse. Well, we said that last year too, didn't we? Right? The back-to-back years of terrible penalty killing, obviously disastrous defense to start the year. Do Rick Tocchet and Adam Foote really have the secret sauce, if you will, to figure out this defense core, to figure out this defensive group? But scoring, to me, they will go nowhere without scoring. They need their scoring to repeat, let alone all the other things they have to fix.
Okay, so no, Ben, I was just going to say, like you guys raised this, will Elias Pettersson crack the 100-point barrier again?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's driven. I think we saw what a healthy, driven Pettersson was able to do last year. We saw what a healthy, driven Pettersson was able to do the season before in the second half. There's no reason to think that he's not that guy, and possibly not even better.
I guess the only caveat there is he's had his best regular seasons when he's had a really good preseason, and now he's got a cold or the flu or whatever. He's not, he may not play until the season opener again. That could hurt him, but I think you're talking about a talent that when we see him game in, game out, and at the rink, you can see. I mean, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he's way stronger on the puck. He doesn't get knocked off the puck anymore. I don't think 100 points is a question mark. What I do think on the back end is that, I know we focus a lot on it, rightfully so. In a perfect world, you'd love to have Hughes, say Hronek, Cole on different pairings so you can balance it out. How long is it going to be until we see Quinn Hughes and Hronek together? I mean, if they start struggling on the back end, suddenly you're going to try to have your pairing out there that doesn't get beat, and suddenly it dwindles down real fast. So I think as much as scoring is an issue with this team, how it plays behind its blue line and how these guys mesh together, especially the new guys, it has to happen in a hurry because, of course, after the opener, they got that 5-game road trip.
And
You're
the
not
other thing,
gonna-
obviously, with the scoring element with Pettersson is how does Kuzmenko? I mean, he's the
Okay.
odds of him scoring 39 goals and scoring on a third of his shots are very, very low. But here's a guy who says he needs to shoot more, and if he's able to finish at all, I mean, that's going to be a big factor as well.
Okay, so assuming like you're not going to get great Vegas odds for Pettersson to be leading scorer, who's number 2?
Who's going to be second leading scorer? I mean, I think it'll be. I actually think Quinn Hughes is going to push to get to 100 points. I think he no doubt saw what Erik Karlsson was able to do last year and is very aware of what Cale Makar has been doing. And it is a higher scoring environment. I mean, last year scoring was up again. It is a time for players like him. Everything Rick talks about player, defense by committee. The other thing I hear is, essentially is this Quinn Hughes as a point guard, that Quinn Hughes is going to be on the ice and whoever else will just have to figure out what they're going to do, that he's driving the bus when he's on the ice. And I think there's a strong chance that he's the second leading scorer on this team this year.
Don't lose sight of the fact that Ilya Mikheyev is a real question mark. I mean, what he brings in terms of size and speed, and we know how good he was on the PK when he was healthy, when he played for another organization. The fact that he's still at this point in a non-contact jersey and he's doing all the drills, but when it comes to contact or having to pivot quickly on that knee, there's still something going on there. And, Anthony Beauvillier is kind of the place card holder right now. And Beauvillier was up and down the lineup last year. And I think that's another guy they need to watch. They need a lot more out of him. So Mikheyev not starting the season is a concern.
So who's your second leading scorer? Behind Pettersson.
It's got to be JT, I think.
Okay. All right. There we go. JT, and we got Hughes. Who's the team MVP this year?
Oh, Pettersson. I want to argue. I've been having arguments with people who's better than him or Hughes, but at the end of the day, the number one center, that elite number one center, the likes of what has been so rare in this town. Obviously, the ability to take over the game, shut everything down. That Pettersson element is just so strong there.
If he plays 55 games, knock on wood, he doesn't get injured again, it's going to be Demko. You're not anywhere in this league without elite goaltending. Casey DeSmith was a good pickup because, quite frankly, you need a proven backup in this league. The injuries that hit goaltenders in the hips and groins and knees are just astronomical. Guys get hurt every year. If Demko stays healthy and plays at least 55, he'd probably be the MVP.
Who's the player that you think is in the most trouble this year? A guy that needs to really show out?
That's
Besser,
a lot of candidates there.
Yeah.
I think Brock Besser to a degree. I mean, it's a guy who's come off a couple difficult emotional years. Obviously talking last year about how last year being harder than he, I think, anticipated it would be. The idea of, as he said to me at the end of the year, all these guys, they have a tough game, they can call their dad, and he doesn't have that anymore. So he had to figure that out. Obviously the Canucks got, I think, what they wanted out of him in terms of his off season, changing the way he worked out, the way he prepared. Forever the discussion, would he score 30? Now it's, can he score 20? He was I think a reasonably creative player last year, but the motor, they need more motor from him. He's a guy that's, I think, kind of got everything to play for at this point. And obviously, him doing well would do great things for this team.
I'm going to stick with Beauvillier because this guy played up and down the lineup last year. He was the principal piece in the Bo Horvat trade. You know how this hockey mad market likes to dissect any trade. He wasn't happy with his game down the stretch, and more importantly, Tocchet wasn't happy with his game down the stretch. I mean, we don't have Mikheyev yet. Pearson's gone. That left side's a little off. I mean, God love Phil Giuseppe playing with JT and Bess. But my goodness, your first line left winger has to be impactful. Right now, they don't have one.
Just a couple more before we finish up. Who do you think the biggest impact newcomer is going to be?
Carson Soucy, just for the reach. We saw it last Saturday. The reach is very impressive with the way he uses it. They have clearly made it a point that this is something that's going to help their PK. One of the issues they had for the last 2 seasons was an inability to disrupt that cross ice pass. The toughest pass for a goalie to deal with. If you can knock the puck off the stick before it's even moving, I think that obviously makes a huge difference. And he's the guy I'm watching.
Okay, Ben.
Teddy Bluger. My reasoning there, I mean, you're basically talking about a fourth line center, but this guy his reads are outstanding, especially on the PK. And again, this is we're beating like a dead horse, but if they can improve, getting into the mid pack on the PK, it's going to mean everything. I've watched Bluger closely. I can see why Tocchet raves about him. Sometimes the guys you least expect are the most impactful. And don't kid yourself. If he's the fourth line center, there's something he can do in transition as well. I think he's a fascinating kid to watch, and I think he's going to surprise some people.
And Vancouver just loves Latvians. It's a great choice.
Well, I mean, I wondered if Ronick was going to be in the discussion. I know not technically a newcomer because he arrived in the middle of last season, but we really haven't seen him play with consistency. So, anyway, just a couple more. Will the coach finish the season for the Vancouver Canucks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This coach will. Yes.
That's good. We're tired of this. Will they get off to a good start? What do you guys think?
They've 3 for 3. Is that what we're saying? We're going to have 3 bad starts?
I mean, they've had their shoelaces tied together out of the blocks the last 2 years. I mean, that's paramount for them. I don't think they will be. I don't think they'll come flying out of the gates. And they've got obviously Edmonton back to back, and then they've got a tough road trip. I think they will be okay. I don't think they will be. I don't think they're going 6-1 or anything like that to open the season. But I think they stand a good chance of coming home at essentially a 500 clip. I think they'll be okay.
They would love a 500 record on that trip, as you mentioned, PJ. I mean, a double dip with the Oil is tough enough. Then you got the Florida end of that. And in a special teams game, if they can win that, if they start bleeding goals and they can't score on the power play and they're just giving up a ton of power plays, it's going to be a start like we've seen the last 2 years, which is not good for anybody.
Just on that, I think about that trip the opening 5 years ago, my first year on the beat when they went to Florida, they went to Tampa, but that was when PD got the concussion and things were looking good until he got slammed to the ice by Mike Matheson. I think, if they can avoid any substantial injuries like that, there's enough here, obviously, that they're going to be a decent team. And that's sort of what I'm looking at, is that they can get through this. They should come home looking in decent shape.
Okay. Last one. Will they make the playoffs? And if your answer is yes, do they make any noise in the playoffs, or are they just happy to be there?
They will not. They will be closer. How's that? Maybe they're single digits, and we're talking about
meaningful games in March. Is that the banner that's going up?
Season. Let's bring in all the new
2023, 2024 meaningful games in March. Raise the banner now.
It's not just the division; it's the conference. I think they're going to be hard pressed. I think it would be nobody likes moral victories, but if they're within, say, 4 or 6 points of that final wild card spot, that might be a victory in some minds. It's not good enough for the fans, but it's the reality of where they're at in their transition.
I'm just saying selfishly yes, because I just want to cover some playoff games. But
there you go.
Obviously the division's difficult, right? You look at Vegas, you look at Edmonton, improving LA. I'm not so sure Seattle's really going to be able to carry on with what they did. I mean, obviously they were a very solid team last year, but they got away with some not great goaltending. And the division is competitive enough that maybe they get a bounce or two against them. Obviously, as Ben opened right off the top, Calgary's a big question mark. I'm kind of curious to see really if they're able to turn things around. It's obvious, yeah. So it's as Ben said, really tough conference, tough division. I'm just selfishly going to say yes because that's just in my own interests.
Well, you got to put a car flag on that car there, okay? All right.
Exactly.
Great stuff, Patrick. Great stuff, Ben. Thanks to Paragon Roofing. Again, paragonroofingbc.ca for all your roofing needs. We'll see if the Canucks can break through the roof and get into the playoffs for the first time in a long time in a non-bubble season. So thank you, guys. Enjoy the season. Stay with us here all year for great Canucks content. You won't get anything better anywhere else.